he's an absolute rotter, and so's his mum. Hello, my name's Gavin, this is Genre Books, and it's Tag Tuesday. Today's tag is the spooky, scary skeleton tag. Now, my tags are building up. I know I've got some still to get to. I will have to catch up at some point and maybe do a bumper video where I tackle 2 or 3 at once. But this one came along this week, created by Nicole's Bookish Nook. I was tagged by Pat from Book Chat with Pat, and dealing with Halloween, I felt this had a little bit of time sensitivity to it. I better get to this one quickly, because anyone I tag will not have long before Halloween actually arrives to do their own tag responses. There are 9 prompts, so let's get going. Prompt number 1, Witchy Mayhem. Name a book that you loved or hated about witches. Well, I'm going to go for a book I loved and a book I read this year, and a bit of a strange book, very old book, William Meinhold, The Amber Witch. This is a little bit of a cheat because she's not actually a witch. She's accused of witchcraft and treated as a witch. But it's a book about witches still, I think. Just because witches don't exist doesn't mean it isn't about them. I did a video on this book earlier in the year, so it explains all about it. But suffice to say, it is a book which purports to be a book from an earlier age. I think it's written in the 1800s, pretends to be about the 1600s, and a trial of witchcraft in northern Germany. Prompt number 2, The Pumpkin King, a fiction book about a spooky main character. My first instinct was Song of Carly by Dan Simmons. Carly is not the main character, although she is the title character, and as a goddess should be high up in the billing. It is a properly unsettling horror story, and definite recommend. But if you don't buy that the main character is spooky, I'm going to give you The Omen by David Seltzer. Now, Damien's the spawn of Satan. You can't get much more spooky than that. Prompt number 3, Orange Fever, a book with the word orange in the title, or a book with an orange cover. Well, I'm going to go for a book with orange in the title, multiple oranges in fact, because I'm going to choose Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson. Now, this is not a scary book, unless you are really, really afraid of lesbians. But it is a good book. There's a good TV adaptation made of it as well in, I think, the late 80s, early 90s. I've read Written on the Body. I think that's what it was called. This is so long ago now. But heartily recommended nonetheless. Prompt number 4, Ghouls and Ghosts, a book you love about ghouls and ghosts. I'm not sure if this is a ghoul or more of a monster, but I'm choosing Le Hauler from Guy de Maupassant. So this is a long short story or very short novella. I remember being spooked by this. I think I read it when I was 16, 17. A man introduces the Hauler into his life, or invites the Hauler into his life, and he in the same way that you would with a vampire. A vampire can't cross your threshold unless you invite it in, or something like that. Unwittingly, I think he waves at a ship, and the monster is on the ship, or the ghoul, whatever it is on the ship, and takes that as the invitation, introduces himself to this man's life, and basically tears his life apart. It's definitely worth a read if you like 19th century French spookiness. Prompt number 5, horrible horrors, your least favourite horror, thriller or mystery book. I don't like doing the least favourite ones, but if you press me, and forgive me, because I know he is a Booktube darling, but it's going to be Stephen King. As much as I like most of what I've read from Stephen King, Christine is not in that category. I was only 15 when I read it, and it just didn't do it for me. I think at the time I was very much into my James Herbert books, and with the visceral horror of James Herbert, switching to a novel about a haunted car or a possessed car, it just didn't cut the mustard for me. I might be doing it a huge injustice. Let me know. Prompt number 6, Gothic Wonders, a favourite Gothic themed book you've read in the last 5 years. I think my favourite Gothic themed books are ones that I've read more than 5 years ago. From the last 5 years, I'll go for Vathek by William Beckford. I think this is Beckford's only work of fiction, and it is not your typical Gothic type of fiction. And I don't think it has many of the sort of the visual Gothic mainstays. It's not set in Europe. It's not set much in the night time. There are no scary houses. But it's a definite Gothic tale. I don't want to give much away about the book, but he's an absolute rotter, and so's his mum. Prompt number 7, Magics and Potions, a fiction or non-fiction book about magics and potions. Well, I can look at fantasy for this, so that's helpful. But I will pick a fantasy which does concern itself with the learning and the practice of magic styles. And that would be Master of the Five Magics by Linton Hardy. I'm going to forget what the 5 magics are now. Thaumaturgy, magic, sorcery, alchemy, and I've read 2 books in this series. I've yet to read the final of the first trilogy. When I do, I'll be talking about the trilogy as a whole, because I think it has an impact sort of beyond the books itself, especially if you are a player of Magic the Gathering. Prompt number 8, Black Cats, a book about cats or a book with a cat as a side character or a main character. Well, as long as the cat doesn't have to be black, I'm going to go for Fritz Leiber's The Green Millennium. It is not at all unusual to find a cat appearing in a Fritz Leiber book. But the cat, Lucky, in this novel is much more prominent than normal. I only read this book recently as part of Garb August, and oddly enough, since reading it, I've seen reviews from 2 other people who've also read the book recently, and we're all agreed it's brilliant. It's completely madcap. It's very idiosyncratic, off-the-wall sci-fi, but it has this cat which might not be a cat. It's certainly a cat with special powers. It's absolutely central to the story, even if Lucky is not the main character and never says a word. Prompt number 9, Spooky, Scary Skeletons, a book that sent shivers down your spine. Well, I'm going to choose one that I read earlier in the year for Horror Mayhem, and that is The Fiend in the Furrows, an anthology of folk horror from David T. Neal. So these are recent works in the folk horror tradition, and yeah, they are spine tingling. Hopefully the picture of the cover is appearing here. there are sequels to this anthology, and if I see them, I am snapping them up like nobody's business. Well, that felt like a bit of a sprint today. Anyway, prompt number 10 is to tag other people, which I will do below the line, and I hope that they have time to get their responses in before Halloween is upon us. But until next time,